So, Kong Armor's deck painting season marches on. We just completed several decks, and now the business will breathe in more projects. We'll rush and hurry to help more homeowners here in northern Kentucky and Cincinnati deal with the fact, A, that decks in the area are all nearing the age of maturity, 23 to 25 years old, so they're all needing help. B, that the area is plagued with the pandemic epidemic of Behr deck over failure. And I told you guys that we would continually talk about these common themes, that every time you see me, we'll talk about them again and again and again, because they're just so repetitive everywhere you go. I'm in Florence, Kentucky now. For some of you that follow the page, you realize that I was just over in Triple Crown showing you guys a completed deck. That deck was very, very healthy. It graded at a B before coating. This deck, where I'm at now, I'm in Oakbrook, is not very healthy. It has some issues. I'm getting ready to show it to you. It suffers from these common things that I tell you guys about: mildew, algae growth, wood rot, fastener corrosion, and this deck here suffers from peeling Behr deck over. Something that, as far as we know, I am the most experienced in the nation at dealing with. The encapsulation and lockdown of peeling DIY deck coatings. What happens is, let's flip the camera around. What happens is the constant, this is a very constant, it's like a constant jab to the face. This contraction, this expansion and contraction of these floorboards, the sun beating down, the UV rays, it all weakens this film. It all weakens it. And then the elongation isn't there. It has a little bit, but it's not enough to keep up with this constant every day. So you have a seasonal expansion and contraction, and then you have a daily expansion and contraction. It's a lot smaller, but what happens, it ends up wearing down on this, and then the foot traffic and everything else, probably lack of proper cleaning before application. There's tons of factors that go into this. What happens is the deck over ends up failing. It ends up failing. And let's be honest, this deck here is outside of regular maintenance as well. Okay, so chances are it might not have been cleaned enough. Chances are it was never maintained. Okay. Board replacement. This deck will face board replacement in several areas. Here, here. We talk about fasteners. It's very, very important to get these, if you can, get as many of these as possible. If you have a very massive system, it's very hard to do this. But on decks that aren't huge, we can kind of prevent this if we can get to the fasteners and keep them from corroding. Okay, if we can completely lock them down, it helps a lot. So several boards in here will be picked up and replaced. There's several rail boards that have been beat down by the sun. Okay, here. We could do epoxy. We could do the silverback epoxy if we had to, but I think instead we're just going to come off with these and put a new one in. Okay, this is all It's already been cleaned. You can see here in the yard, it's everywhere. There's no way to control this. I mean, it just comes off in chunks everywhere, right? This is all going to be encapsulated and locked down. So thicker build, thicker than the deck over top of it, several coats. Okay, this is going to take several floor coats to do this. You're probably talking super build, which would be 5 or 6 more than likely, to come over and lock this all down. Has odd things going on with it like this, so probably this board's going to be pulled out, but this deck is very, very beautiful. It's a very, very beautifully designed deck, and it overlooks this backyard, which is really, really gorgeous. So we named this the Overlook Deck. But we're going to come in, completely encapsulate this. It's been washed. I think about 50% of the peeling came up, maybe a little bit less. The rest of it has pretty good adhesion. I feel that we have enough to grab a hold of. We'll come in and just encapsulate this. You can see some checking down here on the post. We'll fill in this checking. All this will get resurfaced and look very, very beautiful when it's done. Then I'll armor them with a lifetime limited, and I'll give them an opportunity at lifetime service if they take it. Okay. That will be the big thing, if they take it. Consumers have been trained to not accept service for their coating systems. They've been trained, just redo it every so many years. So it's a hard pattern to beat out of them. Many of them won't accept it. They'll deny it on face, and you have to beat it in them. And it's tough. It's tough. Okay. Big time checking going on here. We can see, come down here and look. This runs the length of this post. So when you talk about worrying about these checks, if you ever have to worry if they're bad structurally, what you want to be able to do is take a screwdriver, something like that, and see if you can get this all the way through. And I can tell you that you can't. It goes about an inch in or less. So this post is very structurally sound still. Even though it's taken on this large crack, it should be just fine. There's still plenty of meat there for it. Nowhere near all the way through, right? You come up here. When this becomes worrisome, and this is not a very deal where it's holding up some kind of large deck above us or anything like that, right? So it's not such a huge deal. When this becomes worrisome is when you have them that run vertical like this. You can get a screwdriver to go all the way through them, and then maybe you have one that runs diagonal shot across there like that. Then you start to worry about this checking. What we'll do here is epoxy up through here, knife that over, flatten that out. This epoxy will cure up harder than concrete in here. You'll never, ever, ever see that again. So I'm excited about this system, specifically because it is Behr deck over lockdown. I'm excited to see how this deck turns out. It's a beautifully, the design of this deck is very, very cool. I like it how it wraps around. And then again, I named it the Overlook Deck because it overlooks this area down here. When you're up there on it, it's a very, very beautiful view of this backyard. They really, really have a beautiful setup here. So, Oakbrook, Kentucky, Florence, Kentucky. Stand by. We're getting ready to do Behr deck over lockdown here. And I'm telling you right now, when I'm done with this deck here, you guys will not recognize it. It's actually a very nice deck. The spindles on it and everything are a little bit more upper, a little bit better quality than just a regular standard backyard deck. And I think once it's completely maintained and once it's coated, once it's resurfaced, the true beauty of this deck is going to come out. That comes tomorrow. Come back tomorrow and see me, because I'll be showing you exactly why I'm the best in the world at dealing with this. See you. All right, we're here in Florence, Kentucky, Oakbrook, Kentucky. I'm at the overlook deck, and the project is complete. I put out a video yesterday telling you guys that we were going to lock down the peeling Behr deck over here. It was a severe case of peeling Behr deck over, and we've solved it. And let me tell you that this encapsulation project here in Florence turned out stunningly beautiful. I mean, this deck it's up there with some of the most beautiful I've ever done. The problem is right now the sun is at a spot where it's casting shadows on the deck, and so you don't get the full effect of how gorgeous it is. But let me just say, we've come in here and saved this family from probably floorboard replacement, probably several thousand more in cost than the Kong Armor system. So they get to put a little bit of money back in their pocket. Let's take a look at this beautiful deck. Just 36 short hours ago, it was plagued with peeling Behr deck over. Let's take a look at the lockdown and encapsulation via Kong Armor deck painters. Boom. And I told you guys that right now the sun is kind of casting shadows from the trees, and so it really takes away from the effect and the transformation of this. I'm probably going to have to stop in the morning and get some better data, get some better media on this deck. But let me just tell you that it's in real life, it is stunningly beautiful. We've taken this old wood, and a lot of this, according to a lot of deck contractors, they would have specified replacement. They would have wanted to come in here and rip up this deck floor and charge them a tremendous amount. Okay, we were able to come in, encapsulate this wood. I mean, it's completely engulfed in a really thick build elastic armor now. It's really tough. We've also done preventative maintenance. We've put braces on post, a lot of the checking. So this deck had very large checking here in the post, cracks that were larger than 1/4 of an inch wide. We came in with the silverback epoxy, filled that in, and I told you guys that this deck here in particular, since it had this beautiful spindle system, would look a little bit better than most decks, and it really does. These beautiful spindles really bring this deck to life. I call this the overlook deck because it overlooks this beautiful backyard. You can see the effects here that the sun and the peeling Behr deck over has had on the wood. Is very hard to kind of get rid of this texture that's left, but you can see the encapsulation process that's taking place. So this here, you see these little pieces here, this is actually Behr deck over that's under there. What happens is the Kong Armor system is able to bridge gaps, so it'll find adhesion on the wood in the places where it can. It'll bridge over that, encapsulate it, and lock that peeling Behr deck over down to this board. Okay, you'll see this throughout this deck. You get down here and you'll see the same thing. This is where we had a deck over peel. Okay, all these are deck over peels. There's little pieces of Behr deck over in this everywhere, and this comes in as an encapsulation product and locks all that down. But this is something that you don't see, you don't pay attention to it, and you don't see it unless you get right up on it and look at it with your eyeballs. It's a very, very beautiful deck. Very, very strong. This now has protection. It's completely waterlocked. Very, very hard for water to get in the wood now. Very thick, high build film that will protect against wind-driven rain, sleet, ice, UV deflectors. So the UV rays, as they beat down on this, it has and sometimes you can see them. You might not be able to see them right now, but what they are is like, think of if you just took like a million tiny pieces of mirror, shattered mirror, microscopic little pieces of mirror that are in this paint film. They take those damaging UV rays and they take them and deflect them back up into the atmosphere. What this does is it fights down, it fights on color fade, and it protects the film, the adhesion of the film, from being degraded, right? Also, I'll talk to you about, so this deck suffered from mildew and algae growth a lot. So I'll talk to you guys real quickly about our mildew guard and our algae guard. So we have additives that we put in our armor that will stop the growth of mildew and algae for up to 2 years. Okay, and there's nothing on the earth that stops it forever, unfortunately, but it will stay away for quite a while. And then if you keep up with your annual maintenance and you keep up with what you're supposed to keep up with, you shouldn't have any problem. It washes really well off of our system. Look at this beautiful deck. It's very, very beautiful. The spindle system on this deck is very, very beautiful. All right, well, I am losing the ability to see here, I think. There we go. Got it. Got you guys back. Let me see if I can control this. So, a Behr deck over, peeling Behr deck over encapsulation here in Florence, Kentucky, here in the Oakbrook community. I'm no stranger to this process. If you are suffering from this process and you need help, it's really a lot of people in the tri-state. They have this, they face this, and they don't know how to solve the problem other than ripping up their deck boards. I can offer you a different solution. We can offer you a different solution. Visit www.kongarmor.com or give me a call anytime personally. My name is Anthony Ford. 859-815-0652 from Florence, Kentucky. I'll see y'all later. Beautiful. No sun. Look at that. Just as I get done talking, there's no sun. Wow. Look how beautiful. Let me get some pictures. See y'all later.